So how do you generate income in retirement? That's exactly what I'm going to talk to you about today, and this answer might surprise you a little bit. All right, so how do you generate real income in retirement? How do you really get your money working for you so that you actually have real income? And even better yet, maybe you're already in retirement at this point today, and you're wondering, how do I get that income to increase because I'm there, I need solutions today? I'm going to talk about some of the solutions, not just the traditional ones you might have heard of, but even a few extra ones that maybe you haven't heard mentioned before. So be sure to hang on to the end of this video because I'm going to give you the number one way that my clients will be able to have a real decent retirement even when they're in retirement. All right, so first and foremost, you have the traditional way of doing your mutual funds, your IRAs and 401ks and everything else. Now, what you've been told sometimes by financial advisors that really don't keep up with the times, they might tell you that there's this 4% rule, right? Where whatever you have in savings, you can live on 4%. So if you have $1 million, living on 4%, that's $40,000 a year. Unfortunately, unless you're in your 70s, that's not a good number. This is why even the BlackRock CEO says people should keep working into their 70s before they try to retire, because people are living longer and the money doesn't last as long. You know, especially when you have inflation too, right? So as a result, the 3% is kind of a more better rule of thumb, not a rule at all, but just more of a general guideline to use if you're trying to get these mutual funds working for you. That means if you're already at this point of retirement, and you say, well, I've got $500,000 in retirement, guess what? That 3% means you should only be pulling out $15,000 a year. Now you might have Social Security. If you're over the age of 62, Social Security could be an option, but you're probably tempted to delay it a little bit, maybe pull out more out of your retirement plan, and then take Social Security down the road by waiting till age 65 or 67 instead. Now you could do that, but the thing is, we already know Social Security is hurting. We've already been told that if things don't change, your benefits could drop as much as 20 to 30% less than what you have today. So even though you might think, well, I might get $2,000 a month from Social Security, the truth is that might cut down to maybe more like $1,500 a month. I mean, even though that's not a lot of difference, that's still significant for you and in your planning. And so you're probably looking to see what you can do. So there's really a few different options, right? Obviously, you could try to not live on as much money. You could try to keep working your full-time job while you're in retirement and things like that, which is what the BlackRock CEO said. He said, just keep saving and putting away into your 70s so that you don't run out of money. Or what you could do is a little hybrid of this. And this is, again, this is a common thing that many people have taught. I'm not saying this is the unique thing. I'm getting to that in a bit. But another common strategy would be working part-time. So maybe you do get into retirement, but then you just go back and work part-time. I've seen many people that end up doing consulting work instead, so then they can control their own hours, they can control their own time and what projects they work on and which ones they don't. It gives them a little bit more freedom, but you're still working. And there's nothing wrong with this. In fact, I will tell you, this is why I stopped talking so much about just retiring on income, because I find more and more people just want to become what I refer to as work optional. Work optional is really just saying that you have enough money coming in that you work because you want to, not because you have to. That you've got enough income coming in that can at least pay your bills. Now, many people don't often get to that point very easily, especially if they've been saving in traditional retirement plans. In fact, very few people, very small percentage of people even break the $1 million mark. Did you know that in Fidelity, only about 1.8% of their accounts broke the $1 million mark? 1.8%. That means that less than 2% of people even get to that point to then live on 3% or $30,000 a year, which is really poverty line, right? So you need Social Security to bridge that gap. That's pretty sad. By the way, this is why 35% of those people, of that 1.8%, right? So really 35% of those people thought it would take a miracle to be able to retire. So that means that only leaves 1% of people that actually feel like, okay, I think I'm comfortable enough to retire. 1%, that's horrible. And so you need a different solution. This is why more people are trying to work part-time while they're retired. So they're really not retired. Now again, if you love your work, good, keep doing it. I'd just like to be in a position, this is what I did for myself. I actually had to do it twice by the time I was 39 years old. But what you have to do is get yourself to the point where you are work optional. You have enough income coming in to pay your bills. Then as a result, if you work, that work is really just a labor of love, right? Now, you might get paid well for that labor of love depending on what kind of labor you're doing, but at least you know you don't need that income. Or if anything happens, if there's layoffs or anything like that, you're set. Unfortunately, so many people, they get almost to that point and then something like that, something in life disrupts it. It could be layoffs. I've had so many clients, even recently, get laid off from good positions at the companies they've been at Because, again, companies are cutting back. Things are starting to happen. We're kind of seeing these signs of a recession starting to happen going into 2025. The truth is, I don't know if we ever weren't in a recession. Who knows? I mean, maybe this has just been like one of those light recessions that kind of go under the radar that we don't know about. Regardless, it doesn't matter. The truth is, your life, what it matters for you is you want that actual income. You want to be able to be work optional, where you work because you want to, not because you have to. And that leads me to my next point, right? Is how do you actually accomplish that? How was I able to do it so young? And how do many of our clients do it? Sometimes in retirement, but sometimes even much younger than the typical retirement age. Guys, the secret is about this. It's not about how much money you accumulate and stagnate inside your mutual funds and retirement plans. It's about how much you can get that money liquid, get that money out to work for you to generate real income. It's about the income, not about growth and trying to build up this big net worth. I will tell you, we have had so many people have large net worth, and I mean like net worth into the millions, that then come to us and say, Chris, listen, I'm worth millions of dollars on paper, but my income doesn't show it. Yes, I have a good job that pays me good income, but I don't have any income outside of that. If that job is gone, I'm broke. Yeah, I've got assets, but I have to sell off all those assets. I don't have any real income coming in. I have no passive income coming in that allows me to be able to retire right now. And that's what these people are finding. They become debt-free, they save up lots of money in their mutual funds and their retirement accounts, only to find out that it's just not doing the trick. So income, cash flow, passive income specifically should be your focus if you want to be able to retire. Especially if you're in retirement right now, you now already know that income is the key. It's all about that income. If you knew you had a pension coming in each and every month, you would be much happier than just trying to stretch out your money and try not to run out of money like what my dad had to do in his retirement. My dad had to work into his 70s, even though he was a strict penny pinching saver and he had been debt free, but still he had to work into his 70s and make it work. So I don't really believe that you should keep working full time in your 70s. I don't believe you should have to keep working part time, although that's a solution. I think the best thing you do is get your money working harder for you so you don't have to work so hard for money. And the way to do that is to get income producing assets, ideally ones that are backed by real assets. And I say that because there's a lot of people out there starting to teach you things like Bitcoin. They're teaching about investing in different things that have a lot of speculation. I don't buy into those things as much. I don't trust those kind of things. It's not that you couldn't do it. It doesn't mean that you couldn't make money doing those things. But I like to warn people against things that really are a little bit high risk, right? If you're in a point, and you know this, if you're in a point of retirement, you want some certainty. You want to know that money's going to come in each and every month. So I'll give you an example. I had one client in particular, she had $650,000 in her different funds. Now she's in her 50s. She's not even at the age of retirement, so to speak, but she was getting close. And she said, Chris, I just want to have $6,000 a month to live on. And we said, all right, well, let's plan it out. And so we got our money diversified and invested in different things. And within 2 years, she actually got to that point of $6,000 a month retirement. And she said, there it is, I'm there. Now she chose for herself, she chose to kind of do a little bit of work here and there, but she knew she could actually quit her work. She could also do more of a passion project. She can maybe go start that business, that maybe she had dreamed of doing, but hasn't done yet, and now she can do it without the worry and stress of trying to make more money. You know what I mean by that? So sometimes people are it's not that you just want to retire and die, right? You want to actually do something more than just work hard and then stop working altogether. You might just want to do something different. And so you want to make sure you plan for that monthly income to support that kind of lifestyle, whatever it is you're trying to do. So other ways you can generate retirement income. So I mentioned real estate backed type of assets or real assets to back it up. Now, it could be a rental property. Rental properties can be good, but I'll tell you right now, rental properties aren't paying a very good amount. They're good long-term growth, but income-wise, they produce a decent income, but not to the level that you might expect. The ones that produce the best income right now, and I'm saying this as of the end of 2024, going into 2025, has been income-producing assets by lending your money out to investors. Lending the money to them, let them do the investing and do whatever they're doing, whether they're fixing up properties to flip them later on to make a good return, whether somebody's trying to do wholesaling, there's even people doing that kind of stuff. I mean, people doing all kinds of projects with their money that they'll say, I would rather pay you than have to go to a bank and pay them. And so they might pay you 8, 9, 10, maybe even 12% a year or more for borrowing your money. You become the bank, and especially if you get some guarantees, what I mean by guarantees is, I'm not saying there are any guarantees because you can lose money in anything, right? But what I mean is a little bit more certainty by having claim on that property. Just like a bank does with you when you have a mortgage with them. When you have a mortgage, if anything happens to the property or you stop paying your payments, you have to give the property to the bank, don't you? The bank will foreclose on you. You can do the same thing as an investor where you lend your money, and if they don't pay you money, you can foreclose and take that property, assuming that you actually have a claim on a property. So you got to make sure you're reading the paperwork. It's good to know what you're doing. But that's one great way to do it. And so somebody who says, I want $100,000 a year, rather than trying to save up over $3 million, $3 to $4 million of money to try to live on $100,000 a year in mutual funds, instead say, well, what if I just took $1 million to make 10%, that's $100,000 a year. That's the way you can do it. So if you're in retirement right now, maybe you've got your money locked up in retirement plans that you're just trying to slowly pull the money off, and you're told not to kill that golden goose that lays your golden eggs. But in truth, you know that it's a little bit risky, isn't it? So instead of just trying to take off what little bit of fat you can off your golden goose, instead have them lay bigger golden eggs so you don't have to touch the goose. That's where you go into real estate backed investments that allow you to create more income. Now you're probably curious, like what kind of income can you generate in retirement? What can you actually do? I would recommend going to moneyripples.com, checking out our passive income calculator. On there, you can actually put in your current assets and it'll spit out a number for you that will say within a pretty accurate reason, it'll tell you, here's how much passive income you could create in the next 12 months with the cash you already have on hand. I would recommend going there to moneyripples.com and checking that out today.